And we have Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Hello.
Where in the world are you?
I live in the Dallas, Texas area.
Oh man, we've got people all over the place. Is it warm or cold there right now?
It was warm this morning and it's turning cold tonight. So I wanted to say the 6th of January through the 9th, I had just a short in San Antonio retreat, my first retreat. And so I planned on a big one coming up in May or June, which is what I wanted to use this for. However, I decided that this 4-day one that I did, I wanted to take what I learned from it and do it again in March.
Wow, so, really soon.
Well, I have a lot of people, I had 10 women there, and there were several people that couldn't go to that one that I think I can fill the one in March. So anyway.
Oh, excellent. I love it. I feel like a couple of you have some March events coming up. That's really, really good. Well, welcome. Who else? We have Sam. Where in the world are you today? Oh, he's muted. And
sorry about that. I'm in Mill Valley, California, just north of San Francisco.
Back in California. And your trips are coming up in the second half of this year, right?
Yeah, in June.
Oh yeah, that's not too far away.
Not too far.
All right. Well, welcome, Sam. Always good to have you on. And who else do we have with their cameras on? I'm assuming if you have your camera off, you're kind of being shy, so I won't pick on you. But welcome everybody to the Yuli webinar with our special guest, Becky. Today we're going to be talking about preparing travelers for adventures. We are going to stream this live onto Facebook, so just to be aware that that's happening. And I also want to encourage you guys, please feel free to put messages into chat. We will try to get to those questions as we go through, but you're also welcome to raise your hand either digitally or physically, and we'll try to get your questions to Becky along the way. So please feel part of the community, and please let us know what we can share with you to make this the most inspiring webinar we can today. So I'm just going to get started. Hold on one second, actually, with an inspiration that just came in for us this week. And, you know, I know things are sort of, it's always lovely kinds of posts coming through. So this is from a traveler. We don't know this person. They went on a tour with one of my big dog with Lisbeth, and they do these dog sledding tours, and they have to be prepared for negative 30-degree remote wilderness experiences. So they have to be prepared, right? And this person felt as prepared as he could possibly be, and he had an incredible adventure, and he felt the need to post about it afterwards. That's what you want to get, right? You want people to be ready for your experiences. You want them to be overjoyed with the challenges that they overcome on your experiences, and then hopefully share it with people, so you get even more travelers coming and filling up your trips. So that's my little inspiration for why preparing your travelers is worth the energy. And then just from a technical standpoint, I just want to jump in. So I'm Jen Fine, sorry. I just sort of assume everybody knows who I am by now, but I'm Jen Fine. I'm a co-founder of YouLi, and we have built the best platform for organizing group trips. And one of the aspects of the platform is the traveler tasks component. And here you can see an example of how this works, where you basically can provide all of these tasks for your travelers, and you can track to make sure that they're actually getting them done. So you can make sure that your travelers are doing the things that they need to do to be ready for the experience that you've created. These are completely custom. So, you know, only you know what your travelers need to do in order to be properly ready. Then, of course, now we have the lovely extra COVID requirements that we always need to put in from now on. But the rest of it can be hopefully the fun stuff like the packing lists, and hopefully you'll be able to recommend someone like Becky, who is a health coach, personal trainer, adventure travel coach, or provide this service yourself prior to the trip, to help them get ready, either physically or mentally and emotionally, for the trip that you are taking them on. So now I would like to introduce Becki Rupp and have her share a little bit about herself and explain what it means to sort of prepare travelers for these trips, because she doesn't run the trips. She just helps travelers become prepared. So I do want to make sure that that's a clear distinction. So she's a service provider that you can actually recommend to your travelers if you don't have the capacity to do this yourself within your own organization. So Becki, welcome.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks everyone for being here. Yeah, I'm Becki Rupp. I'm a personal trainer and health coach, and sort of been dubbed an adventure travel coach. Combining my background with personal training, with adventuring. I'm a former member of a wilderness search and rescue team. I live in Colorado, do all the things out here in central Colorado. This is actually Alaska behind me, not Colorado, but I do live in the mountains in central Colorado, where we, do a lot of hiking, mountain biking, rafting, skiing, snowshoeing, Carrie, and all pretty much like you name an adventure travel thing, it's done out here. One adventure thing I don't do is rock climbing or ice climbing, but other than that, I'm a former sea kayak guide as well. We have world-class whitewater rafting here. I'm not a raft guide, but spend a lot of time, in the mountains, on the water, and doing all that sort of thing. And in my travel experiences, I have come across, people who are in, shall we say, various levels of preparedness for what they're taking on when they go on a trip somewhere. So when I decided to start my business a few years ago, I wanted to combine my love of travel and adventure along with my personal training background and getting people ready so that they can make the most of their adventure. Mm-hmm. My background before that actually was in marketing for a Fortune 50 company. And so that's where my experience comes with the customer journey and the importance really of all those touch points along the way. Because, we all know that, the customer journey starts the first time your potential client even considers your retreat or your adventure or your experience. They are making mental notes, whether consciously or subconsciously, about, is this company easy to work with? Are they giving me answers to all the questions that I have? Are they giving me the confidence that they're going to be able to make this a really amazing experience for me? And there are just so many things that go into that, some of which are beyond your control, obviously, but when you have an opportunity to control those factors along the way, you can really differentiate yourself and make for an amazing experience. And as Jen mentioned, people post about it and they share with their friends and, even beyond their friends, all their contacts. And it just gives you just so much more of a robust relationship with that customer, as well as the potential to expand your market with their friends and everybody that they know. So
and keeps them from being as likely to cancel, right?
Yeah. And that's one thing we wanted to talk about too, is like, sometimes people get excited and they sign up for something and then they have that like, oh shit moment, right? Where it was like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I come along. There are, of course, the things that you need to take care of with your travelers to get them prepared. Like Jen was mentioning, now we have all the COVID stuff, just the checking the boxes on the logistics. I like to think of this as a more kind of the fun part of the preparation for a trip. And working with my clients to get them ready and just seeing their excitement build for that trip is just absolutely super rewarding. So just wanted to share a couple of stories about what I have been doing with clients to get them ready. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. So just a picture of my husband and I and our group for the Inca Trail. Of course, this is Machu Picchu, everybody recognizes that. And this is a trip where I actually had one of those like experiences where we had a diverse group of ages and capabilities in our group. We didn't know anybody in this group before coming. My husband and I just, signed up with this tour operator, based on honestly on TripAdvisor reviews, and it looked like it was a good fit. We were the oldest people in the group. My husband specifically was 51 when we did this. And our guide told us later on in the trip that, they kind of like look at everybody when they show up, right? And they're kind of sorting through like, okay, who's going to be like the problem? Who's going to be like fine? And they kind of, do that sort of equation. And they sort of flagged my husband in particular, but the two of us as like potentially the laggards of the group. And honestly, we made it to camp we were the first people in camp the first day. Now, granted, we came from Colorado, so we had a little bit of an advantage with the altitude. But, we had also trained. I mean, we had gone hiking. I mean, we hike normally, but we had specifically beefed up our hiking and done multiple days in a row to be able to be ready for this. And we were really prepared, and we were really comfortable, and we really enjoyed everything about the trip. There were some people, and I won't pick out who in this group, that did not have such a great time. They really struggled. And I just felt so bad for them because, we had all like spent all this time and money to do this amazing trip. And to just like drag yourself into camp every night and just fall into the tent and like not be able to enjoy it was, it was just sad to me. I felt, really bad for these people. And some of them, it was altitude sickness, which can be mitigated to some degree, but some of it seemed to me at the time, just kind of lack of preparation. And, so when I started this company, I was like, I could really help people be ready for these adventures so that they can really make the most of it. So if you prepare yourself at every point, with whatever means you have, as Eleanor Roosevelt says, you'll be able to grasp that opportunity for a broader experience when it appears. So that's really
I remember we were training for Kilimanjaro in Australia, and the tallest mountain on Australia is the same elevation that you start your Kilimanjaro climb. So it's like there was no altitude training available. So yeah, you definitely have an advantage in Colorado.
I'm actually I'm working with some people right now who are going to be doing a trip in Peru. They're going to be doing the Salkantay trail, not the Inca trail, and they go up to 15,000 feet. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to be able to go to 15,000 feet in the continental United States. You just not, you can come to Colorado and do a 14er, but there are ways around that. And that's, the kinds of things that I've dealt with. And Jen, you've obviously dealt with that, and people do it all the time. Right. And I think to some degree, there's like, people do it all the time. So there's some complacency, but then when you really think about it, you're like, yeah, it really requires a lot to do that. But for some people, it's not even like a Kilimanjaro or an Inca trail, or, for some people, it's even just going on a hike. That's a level of adventure that they just haven't experienced before. So this, a lot of my clients are training for bigger things, bigger kinds of adventures, multi-day, very, multiple, high altitude gain and loss and things like that. But I also have some clients who are like, hey, I just haven't done anything in a long time, and I want to get back into doing some more active things that I enjoy. I work with some people who are like recently retired, and they've been doing kids and careers for the last 30, 40 years. And they just, they feel like they're starting from scratch. And so I help, kind of a wide range of people. Again, not just these big adventures, but also like just getting ready for, doing whatever it is they want to do more of in their life.
I know we have someone on who's doing a retreat to Mexico. And I imagine, if you're going to climb one of those pyramids, like if that's not something you feel like you're fit enough to do, that's an experience that you miss out on, right?
Yeah, potentially. So it goes back to just the better you prepare your customers before they leave home, the more likely they are to have an outstanding experience. So again, these clients who actively prepare, they are engrossed in, engaged in, and excited about the trip. before they even leave. So I'm working with several clients, like I said, who are getting ready for adventures in Peru. I also have several clients right now who are going to be hiking the Camino de Costa Rica, which is a relatively new coast-to-coast trail in Costa Rica. It's pretty exciting. And, you know, when I talk to them, when we go through kind of where they're at in their training program each week, they're like, you know, one of them just said to me last week, you know, I went from being like anxious and terrified to like getting more excited and feeling like, okay, I really can do this. And it's just to see that switch and have them build that confidence over the weeks and months before they leave, just brings them to that trip with, you know, another level of excitement. So that's
replacing that anxiety with excitement, right?
Yes, exactly. And building that confidence, because that's really a huge thing. Like, it's interesting because, you know, most people, if you give them a plan and they can work through it, they can physically do it. It's the mental piece of it that can be even more of a barrier.
That's something they said to us a lot about Kilimanjaro. Everything I read was like, yes, physically train, but it's a mental game more than it is just like, it's that next level of like, you have to convince yourself that you can do this to push past the fact that you can't feel your fingers and toes and not turn around and go back. I can't breathe. I shouldn't be here. So you have to tell your brain has to overcome that if you want to kind of overcome that challenge. You know, I'm sure some people on the call are like, why do this? But you know, whatever that challenge is for you, I think that sort of mental component is a huge part of the adventure, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where my combination of personal training and health coaching comes together. So health coaching is around a holistic approach to supporting behavior change and supporting people and improving their health. And a lot of it is based on psychology, honestly, cognitive behavioral theory and you know, different things that you can do to support clients to not just hand them a plan and say, good luck, go do it. It's really strategizing around how they can work this into their life, the strengths that they can use to overcome some of these, you know, they might be physiological, but also these kind of mental blocks, and working through those so that they can have a really great experience at the end of the day. So that's, you know, anybody can pull down a plan off the internet, right? I mean, if you Google hike Kilimanjaro, right? Like, how many training plans can you come up with? If you Google hike the Inca Trail, if you know, any of those things, you can find the plan. It's really like the getting through it, the personalizing it, and the just, you know, the fortitude and the accountability and the getting there along the way, which some people again can do on their own, and some people really, really benefit by having that support.
Absolutely.
So everybody wants to be on top of the mountain, but you know, the work that goes into it, the happiness and growth is in climbing it, both again before your trip and then once you get there. This is a picture I think Christine is on from Lotus Sojourns that we did together last summer. We actually partnered up for this to take a group of women to climb a 14,000 foot peak in Colorado. And, you know, we put it together as a package. So I do this independently. Like, I work with, you know, some of my clients are with Whoa Travel and others. And they're just individual people who are on a group trip, but it's not group training. But this was a specific case where Christine and I paired up to do a package deal with group training as well as the actual trip itself. And so we had personalized training plans, bi-weekly coaching for each participant. And every other week, one week they would have one-on-one training and coaching with me. And then the other week, we would do a group session. So a Zoom session like this on, you know, gear, nutrition, safety. We even had a speaker from the local Indigenous community talk about the, you know, some of the aspects of the native culture in these lands in central mountainous Colorado. And it just really brought together people in a different way. It became a really unique experience that, we haven't really seen offered otherwise, where it was a 3-month experience end to end. And this group of women got to know each other. We used Marco Polo, sent messages to each other while we were out hiking. You'd be out hiking and shoot a little video and send back encouragement back and forth. We had a Facebook group so that when they showed up for this weekend, adventure wilderness retreat, they were ready to climb this 14,000 foot peak, and they did. So that was the happy end of the story. But, when a customer has that kind of experience, they're just blown away. So the next slide actually includes a quote from that specific experience. Go to the next one.
Yeah. And so this is when you package it together. So you marketed this as it comes with this in advance. So they knew when they were signing up that they were signing up for a multi-month experience punctuated by the climb, right? Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, again, it's the anticipation is half the thing. That when I signed up for this retreat, I knew it'd be a challenge to complete the journey. I never imagined how much fun I'd have along the way. It was an incredible experience. So that pre-trip anticipation and building all that up in advance and getting them to be just so ripe and ready to go was super valuable. So yeah,
that's amazing. Well, and I guess that's the dream, is that it's it is that these experiences are transformational, and if you can kind of build that anticipation, then that makes that sort of final experience that much more powerful. Because you've already built those connections also within the group itself, right? So then they kind of already know each other. You don't have to do all that awkward, who is this person kind of thing. You've already done all that before the trip, and then you can just get straight into, the sort of deeper connections that you can make.
Exactly. What are the people blowing on? Oh, they were just the little noisemakers, for New Year's. Just some goofy little noisemakers.
Cigars.
Yeah. No.
Go to the top of a 14,000 foot mountain and smoke a cigar.
No. Some people bring beer. We did not bring beer, but we brought some dark chocolate and some noisemakers and did our little party dance on the top. So that was super fun. But yeah, so that's just a little bit more about, how these things can play out. The other thing it does is it just really resets their foundation for future adventures. So all these people now know that they can do this, right? So they are that much more open to future, bigger and better experiences. So
that's a good point to think about it, though. If this is something you offer almost as an introductory package, people who haven't gone on experiences with you before, this is a great way to kind of get them over the oh, I don't do these kinds of things. And you can kind of help them with this first one. And then do you think then you would do the same level of preparation if they were to come on another experience? Or do you think it would be different if they've kind of gone through this experience in a previous trip?
Yeah, I think it depends. Christine and I are actually working on another combination training and retreat right now, and it's going to be configured a little different. I won't give it away, but so it's going to be a different kind of focus, still adventure, but in a different kind of way. But I think there's opportunities. And one of the clients I'm coaching right now actually did climb. Well, she didn't summit Kilimanjaro, but she did a Kilimanjaro climb a couple of years ago, but she's since had an injury and COVID. And she's going on another adventure in the fall, and where's she going? August or September, I can't remember, that she wants to prepare for. And she just feels like even though she, had done the other piece, she had found that it would, believes it's beneficial, and, we're finding some benefits, and, just kind of recalibrating and doing another round of training for that. So I think, it's going to be an individual kind of thing. Some people just really appreciate the structure and support that is provided through this kind of program. And again, others are do-it-yourselfers, and that's fine. That's good for them.
So that's a good point, actually, in terms of whether or not this is something that you do for the whole group. Like it's like a package deal versus, it's an optional add-on that you can offer. If you're looking for assistance, you can connect with Becky. And so which one do you feel like you would recommend, one or the other, or it just depends on the group?
I think it really depends on the group and the trip kind of situation. So, something that's a kind of a more mid-level adventure where you might have a mix of people some of whom are really prepared for it and some of whom it's going to be a bigger challenge for them, then maybe just a more of a, one-on-one, one-off, like, here's a referral kind of situation. But if you have a group of people that haven't really done something like this before, I think it is a good opportunity to build that community and build that support group and really put together something that people can feel connected to throughout, over time to go on that journey, that longer extended journey together. I think there's a lot of, I think Christine and I found that there was a lot of value in that, and that there was a lot of appreciation. It depends on the group, it kind of depends on the vibe. And
Christina, if you're on, do you have anything that you want to add? Let's give you a chance to unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would just second everything that Becky just said, that it was a really unique opportunity to build camaraderie in a way that I hadn't really experienced on a trip. Sorry, I was in a very dark room. I'm moving to a different room. And to arrive at a trip with the level of connection and camaraderie that you usually leave with was super valuable. And with this particular sojourn, our goal was kind of to attract people who thought they never could do this. So our mission was to get them to the top of the mountain. So that's why I think it was really important for everybody to do the training. I know you were talking about like how you would choose whether you would do this for everyone or for an individual. In this particular instance, everyone really needed it, and everyone started at slightly different levels, but like, because the training was so individualized, we kind of all got to the same place eventually to be able to start together doing the hike and the actual 14er. So yeah, it was really powerful and valuable, I think, in terms of camaraderie and team building, like to do it together. And I think if we had all just showed up to hike a 14er and didn't know each other, it would have been a completely different environment. We also wouldn't have known if everybody was ready to do it. Whereas Becky and I had a really good gauge of like where everybody was at the beginning. We knew how we could support them mentally and physically to be able to achieve this goal together, because we had built that relationship over an extended period of time.
That's a really good point, just in terms of knowing where your people are at, in terms of their ability to fully participate in the experience. Because you can ask people like, oh, are you, where are you at? But sometimes people, sort of think of themselves as being at a different level than they actually are. And sometimes it takes one of these experiences to be like, oh, I'm not there, I'm somewhere else. I remember we did a climb of just Mount Fuji, and it was one of the people that came was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And then she wasn't. And so here we are, there's 9 of us, and she's not able to keep up. And we're halfway up the mountain, and it's like, what do we do now? Right. And so, it just became a very long day. And thankfully it's a small mountain. And so it all worked out. But, you can imagine, like, if you just trust people to sort of gauge their own levels, that can cause a big problem for the whole group. And especially if you don't know each other, that's another level of challenge with that. So, I mean, and I love what you're saying about sort of pitching it to people like who wouldn't have done this otherwise. Like that's a great way to make it a package thing, because people will really appreciate this rather than feeling like, oh, why do I have to do this training? It's like, this is actually exactly what they're looking for, and that's why they've signed up for it. So making it a target market of people who are looking for this complete thing, I think that's really smart. And I hadn't sort of heard of that before, because usually it's like, if you're up for the adventure of, you know, Machu Picchu, join us, right? But you don't see a lot of like, if you're not sure if you can climb Machu Picchu, you know, like you don't see that so much, right? So there you go. I think that's a neat opportunity for people who want to kind of help those who aren't sure to get and overcome the challenges that they didn't think they could.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of like this kind of what you can offer a client in terms of preparing and then having the outcome that you want them to have as an operator. It doesn't even have to be a super rigorous activity like we have mentioned 14ers and Kilimanjaro and Machu Picchu, but I think even depending on, you know, where you're at, you know, spending a whole weekend paddleboarding, for some people that might be something that would be challenging, or even like a lot of longer flat day hikes that aren't elevation. Like there's a lot of different ways you could set your clients up for success by giving this opportunity to prepare mentally and physically for the journey that they have. So that's when I met Becky, that's what I was really excited about. Even outside of the realm of adventure travel, even touring Europe or going to New York for 4 days where you're going to walk a lot more than you ever have, just like allowing people to ask themselves the question, oh, am I physically ready for that? I actually didn't even think about it. And then they can, you know, kind of judge and gauge whether they need some support in achieving the optimum enjoyment out of their experience.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot there. Share your thoughts. And now I would love to put everybody on the spot and ask if anybody has any comments or questions, or, you know, if they want to share some of their experiences having done sort of pre-trip preparation stuff, things that have worked or things that haven't worked. We can learn from the mistakes that we make. Does anyone want to share their stories or ask a question? I feel like Sam's always quite got the best questions.
Well, yeah, there are a few things on my mind. One pertains to Yuli, and let me just preface the question by saying that for my company, we're at the stage of just getting deposits from parents for our first family retreat. So as we get these deposits and we start turning on additional tasks, you know, we're starting this pre-trip prep. And basically, I'll formulate the question basically as sharing a fear, and the fear, and I hope you all will tell me that it's just totally unfounded and here's how to just mitigate it. The fear is that as I turn on all these tasks that we've developed in Yuli, with oftentimes with automated reminders, that it's going to be annoying to them. That's my fear, is that they're going to feel bombarded with all these tasks, which sounds onerous, and they're going to get these automated messages telling them that it's overdue, and that all just seems like a downer, which is not what I'm trying to provide. So how about that? Why is that fear unfounded, and how can we just help prepare them and get the info we need, but without it seeming annoying or burdensome?
I feel like I'm biased here. I'm going to give, is there anyone who wants to respond to this from their experience? I don't know, Karen, if your experience of this is any different.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful not to set too many tasks, because you've got your essential tasks, you know, your passport, your waiver, all insurance, all the really essential stuff. And then to put a whole pile of other ones on top of that, I think is not a good idea. But also from my experience, there is always one person in every group who is way too slow at walking. And you have to kind of work with that in a way. You have to, and most people, if you ask them about their fitness, they say they're really, really fit, and they aren't. They've been training on flat paths or something, you know, not training on hills. So, but yeah, back to the the original question about the task. I do think you have to be careful not to bombard them with too many, or they've just got to be put in such a positive way that to make it, you know, easy.
Yeah. So it's a balance, and I think that's, you know, that's it. There is a bit of an art to this, and I think, you know, you've been using YouLi for a couple of years now, so you know, you sort of you get a feel for which, you know, what's that line there, right, in terms of what's the right amount of tasks, and you get feedback from people if they felt overwhelmed, or you see the results of how prepared they were and that kind of thing, right? Yeah. And Christine, I see you. Oh, sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Well, just a quick follow-up clarification there, and that's quite helpful. In all of your experience, then therefore, to find that balance, do you basically just focus on the essential tasks, you know, the passport, the travel insurance, or I've heard of other ventures like building in some that are supposed to be like value add, where you're asking them to think about their goals or stuff like that, where it's not essential per se, but you're trying to provide value to them through these tasks. To what extent have you done that and found that to be good?
So with the essential stuff, you make sure that everyone does those. With the other stuff, you might just send it out as an email and say just in case you need this packing list. For Bhutan, I always do packing lists. But in Australia, you know, not so much. But I will send an email and say, if you need a packing list, here's one. You know, that, and some people get back to me and say that was really helpful, and then, but it's optional that way.
So don't turn the reminders on for that one, right? So it's like if they seek it out, then it's there for them, but don't hassle them about it. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so Christine, I think you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just was going to add that this, you know, is all kind of the same in shaping your customer's experience and shaping their outcome, is that if you have all those tasks, you just let them know that you've taken care of all of this for them. Like, I have all this stuff in one place for you. You're going to start seeing these automated reminders once you book. This is going to show you your packing list. This is going to give you some ways to get more inspiration for your trip if you want to build that in. Here's some mindfulness practices. They're all going to be coming from the same spot to make this really easy. So you're telling them this is the value add that you're offering them, and setting up the expectation that they're going to receive it. And then they're not going to actually feel burdened by receiving it, because you've already told them that they're going to get it. And so they're expecting it. And I think that makes it, that kind of takes that fear, I guess, of them being overburdened by it, because they're expecting it from you. And if it's not there, then they're going to be like, hey, wait, you told me you're going to provide me all of this information and I don't know where it is. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I would be really excited to know that everything I need is taken care of and it's in one place for me, and that it's easy to use and all of that.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
And Naomi, I think you had a comment as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of a question, and it's kind of related to what Sam was talking about. So what I used to do before I had YouLi, and now I'm wondering how I can do this, but I used to send the email with the links to the online, fill out the thing and whatever it is. And I used to put like 2 minutes next to it. I used to like put like how long it would take. And I had 100% sending it, people doing it. And so I didn't have to harangue people. Is there a way to put a little like expectation timer on it? Like, how long does it take? You know,
well,
how, like,
I mean,
when you do a course and it has resources and it'll say how long it takes to complete it.
Yeah, I mean, I think within the instructions, you know, you can do different fonts and different colors and stuff like that. So you could put a little style that says, expected completion time in orange or something like
Yeah.
that. And then, 5 minutes. So you could make that as a style that you put into your tasks so that when people open them up, they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just need 5 minutes for this versus, oh, this is a training extra, like a hiking training thing, like, allocate 2 hours for this or something.
Well,
So-
also like they think that filling out like the questionnaire about their whatever is going to take forever, but really it takes 3.5 minutes. So like just to give them that, that it's going to be quick and easy. So I can do that. So thank you. So Sam, that might help you feel better about it too, and help your people not feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's a really good point. I've seen that with like Medium articles, like this is a 3-minute read. And that's what's meant to kind of get you to be like, oh yeah, I have time to read this.
I can do it. I can do this.
I can do this. I like that. I feel like
good.
that's the theme of our session today. I can do this.
I can do this.
Thank you, Naomi.
Well,
That's a really good tip.
I'm planning on setting up my whole page and all of these tasks like tomorrow. I'm going to do the whole thing tomorrow. So I can do this.
I can do it. Well, and the great thing about it is that we do find that, when you're starting out, figuring out what that balance is of like, what does it mean to prepare your travelers? And do you split up? Do you have like one big intake form with like all your questions and you make them take 10 minutes and do that? Or do you break that up into like the stuff you need right away and then like another one later and another one later? And that's something that, it depends on your audience. It depends on, are you doing something like with Becky, Becky and Christine did something where they met with everybody like every other week or something like that. And so there's more opportunities for communication. And so I think, you need to match your tasks in the system up to the kind of communications that you're having so that they reinforce each other, right? And I do think, Sam, one point I do want to make is, the platform is going to send reminders and it's their one place, but recognizing that it's technology, right? And you definitely do want to set those expectations of like, this is where you get to complete these things. But you'll want to have other communications with them, presumably. You'll want to have, that's kind of what Becky's kind of saying is like, engage with people leading up to it so that they're not just getting an email from the Yuli system that's like, get this thing done. It's, it's more, it's just that sort of next level of customer engagement, right? Becky, am I getting that right?
How often do the automated emails come?
So we send 3 automated emails per task. So they're sent a week before it's due, the day that it's due, and then 2 days after if they've missed it.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
But we stop, like if at any time they complete it, we don't send a reminder. So that's one really nice thing compared. Like one of the things I hate about group trips is like those emails that are like, if you haven't already completed the thing, please do the thing. It's like, we don't send those. We send a message to say, Jen, you have not done the thing. But Naomi doesn't get it because Naomi was good and got it done already, right? So that's one of the good things about the platform that kind of takes care of that. And it only then nags the people who need to be nagged. So any other questions, Naomi? Awesome. I think I see Karen's hand is up again.
Yeah, I was going to say the brilliant thing about YouLi is that you can put in links all over the place, which is great. So you can have a little bit of detail and then you can have a link to a whole lot more detail. And I love that about it. So, and you can, and being able to upload documents and departure information is quite extensive. And so people can click on the link or the document and go to that. And it's even sort of, they can click on the little chapters, I suppose, as well. Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah.
Karen does a really good job of building out her hiking tour. She puts like little day-by-day maps of like where they're going to be each day and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's, it's one of these things that the technology that we provide creates space for you to create the kind of engagement that is right for your audience, right? And so, what do your people want to see? So, so Sam, to your point about like, I don't want to annoy people, I want this to be a value add. Like, well, imagine if you were them, what would be like, oh, I'm so glad Sam did this for me. Is it a map of the hotel so that they can kind of have in their head already before they get there? Like, if it's a big hotel, or, like, that's one of those things I always find really annoying. It's like, it's not until you get there that you can like figure out the place, but I'm a map person. So I would love to have seen that in advance, right? Is that something that they would like be really happy to have, and make them feel a little bit more, a little less apprehensive of what it's really going to be when they get there. So, and I think that's kind of what Becky does, sort of in a more intense way, is like helping people prepare so that the anxiety of that uncertainty, right? Like these kinds of trips, whether they're emotional or physically challenging, there's anxiety that comes with that, right? And so this pre-trip customer engagement is about replacing that anxiety with excitement, because they have confidence that you are giving them the tools they need to be prepared for whatever challenge they're going to face. Becky, do you have anything to add? Sorry.
I had another question. So the pre-trip stuff is only for the people who have bookings, so it's completely separate from the sales page, correct?
Well, it's integrated in. So the sales page before they register is just public, and they don't see any of that content. Once they register, and then they will be shown any tasks that you show to registered people, or you can make so those tasks only show to booked people. So you can decide when they see it, whether it's at registration or when they complete a payment. So.
And so then you're saying you can put in like itineraries that for them that they can see. I could put in menus that they can see. I can put in trail maps, you're saying, so they can see what we're doing. So I can do all of that for them. So I don't need papers anymore.
Yes.
No paper.
No more paper. You don't. I remember and I think there are still some people who do this, but like they would print out an entire pack and like mail it to travelers before they go. So I think thankfully we don't have to do that anymore, right? And so yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't need the paper anymore. And of course they can download all this content to their mobile phones, so they can take it with them offline, so they can read it on the plane, or they can, read it even though there's no Wi-Fi. I see Karen's got a recommendation here for Summit Strength. I have not heard of this. Oh, Becky agrees.
Yeah, he's based in Australia, so I'm not surprised that you're familiar with him. But he's got a great podcast too, with a lot of training tips. I've actually been kind of grabbing some of his training things to like refer my clients to. But yeah, there's a few of us out here. It is a small niche. There's also, what is it? Fit for Trips is another company that offers this kind of pre-trip training. So there are a few different options out there. So it's gaining awareness as a good add-on for people to be able to do.
Absolutely. And so we've talked about a lot of different things here. Is there any other comments or questions before I wrap up? Sam?
If I may, just let me ask one more. So you've shared various tips in terms of how you can help the participants to get to know each other and develop, sort of a sense of camaraderie before the trip. But if we can share any other sort of best practices, and I'm asking this in the context that this summer, all these families, parents and kids and teens, will all be going to live together on this little island for a month. And the ideal, obviously, would be that everybody has a good feel for each other beforehand and has that sense of camaraderie and all that before we even show up, so that when we show up, they're already hugging each other. Ideas that have been shared are, hey, let's get on some Zoom calls together, with just the parents, and maybe one for the kids, and create a private Facebook group. One of the parents said, oh, could we also have a WhatsApp group chat? With regard to those ideas or any others, can you guys share your experience in terms of what works best to foment that spirit amongst the participants before the trip starts?
Becky, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with that per se, but I think, looking at what channels people are on, whether I have younger nieces teenagers, they're into Snapchat. So like, a little Snapchat group, or like Christine and I use Marco Polo, which is a video app where you just do like little video notes back and forth to each other. And again, you can set up a group for that, private group for that. Marco Polo. And Facebook, if they are heavy Facebook users, a private Facebook group.
So I
I
like
don't know how
the
spread
sound
out
of Marco Polo. You said that you use that, like people would go on a hike by themselves, but then they would share a video of themselves hiking with the rest of the group to kind of show like, hey, I'm doing it. And then that would inspire others as well. Sam, is there anything like that you could do? Is there any kind of preparation that people are going to be doing that they could be kind of like recording themselves doing? Like you could encourage them maybe to be like, record your packing. Like I would always do that prepping for Kilimanjaro. I'd take photos of like, here's all the equipment that I've bought so far. And I would photo that and send it to the group. And then people are like, oh, you've got gaiters. Yes. Right. And then, like, do I need gaiters? And then the conversation would go on from there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I can see the potential of that for families making videos of things along those lines, sharing it with others. And then, gosh, now I feel ignorant that I had obviously been aware of Facebook because so many of these parents are on it. But yeah, now given that teenagers and kids are coming, I got to find out what platforms they're on and potentially extend myself.
Snapchat, TikTok.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Some probably 20 other things that I've never heard of. So
the good thing is you don't have to be on TikTok. You can just have them give you a link to their TikTok and you can share it with the rest of the group at Facebook. So you don't have to like
Tripcast. I'm not familiar with Tripcast, so.
Oh, yeah. Vanetta, do you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sitting down in a basement and it's kind of dark and gloomy here, but so I use an app called Tripcast that can be used on the computer or on smartphone. And it is a place where you can share videos, pictures, documents. So once I have a group established, I set up the Tripcast trip, basically, and they're invited to join. They download the app and join. And if I have announcements, it comes right to that. They get an email notice that there's a new message in Tripcast. Anyone can upload documents or videos or pictures. So not only does it provide a way of communicating ahead of time, but it's a way of sharing the experience during the trip. And it's a private place. So it's just kind of fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I did something similar on a trip. I used Cluster for sure.
Yep, that's another one that's it's almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So that's a really good idea. And I think that the challenge with these is always getting people onto them. So the advantage of Facebook is everybody's on it. Most people have an account, but it's not private. And plus then they get distracted with Facebook stuff. So the nice thing about things like Tripcast is like, when they go there, they're just focused on your content. So that can be really good. Is there a price tag on Tripcast?
Nope. It's free. But once you learn how to use it, it's great. It's really easy.
Great.
Yeah. So there's some things to try out: Marco Polo, Tripcast, maybe check out Cluster. That's just a general, it's not trip specific, it's just a general photo sharing kind of private event kind of platform. I think they monetize by getting you to pay them to print photos. So I'm not sure that, but I'm sure each of them has their own little price tag attached. But these are all really great suggestions, and I think the fun of this is making that connection. And I love that line, Sam. I think you said so that they're hugging each other as soon as they arrive, right? And yeah, to have a really great experience, you want to kind of get over that social awkwardness pre-trip so that they're just like ready to have like the best experience now that you've taken them to this special place, right? All right. Thank you guys so much for joining and asking all these great questions. I'm looking forward to seeing those of you who are running events in March. You've got a little more time to prepare, but I think there's still enough time to implement some of these ideas. And so if you're interested in working with Becky for any kind of future trips, obviously you can engage with her like Christine has to do like a special packaged kind of thing, or simply refer individuals. So she mentioned Women High on Adventure, I think, whoa. They take women on, Kilimanjaro climbs and things like that. They refer people to her for those who don't feel like they're ready to go on their own. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Becky. Her contact information, we'll repost it here in the chat, and we'll send it out as well as a follow-up. And if you guys have any questions about leveraging the YouLi platform in terms of tasks and things like that, or selling services like if you were to work with someone like Becky and you wanted to add that on to as an optional add-on, you can do that through the itinerary. So you can kind of have that upsell capability so that individuals can choose to purchase our services, but you don't have to package it into the base bundle. Same thing, of course, if you want to offer that yourself. If you are a coach and you want to offer pre-trip coaching of some kind, you can do that as an add-on for yourself on the trip. If you need any help making that happen, obviously click the help icon in the bottom right of the YouLi platform to open tickets. And if you're looking for sort of consulting, the sort of the art of it, you can also book in some time with us and we can discuss. But we love creating these spaces where you can get free inspiration and ideas, and we really appreciate your time. And Becky, thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories with us. I hope someday to be able to come climb a 14er with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love that. So thanks,
All right.
everybody. I appreciate it. And good luck with all your trips. And oh my gosh, may the universe bring us all better days and easier things and all of that. It's been a journey for all of us, right?
That's right. But we got to enjoy the journey, right?
Yep. Making it happen.
Thanks, everybody. See you next
Bye,
time.
thanks.
Bye.